Once it had a battery in it and once it was brought back to life, that's when all the creepy stuff started happening with this truck. Everybody remembers their first car, and it is either a hand-me-down or it's never I mean, barely anybody ever gets the car they want for their first car. It's kinda like your first concert. My first car was a 1969 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. That was my grandfather's car first, and then dad would drive it to work, and we're talking, 1988, 89 when this happened. So, I ended up with this big white gunboat 350 rocket Olds Cutlass Supreme. Had no business with a 16-year-old behind the wheel of it. And of course, I was a skater kid back then, had quality skateboarding's not a crime stickers all over it, and every Pal Peralta Santa Cruz sticker you could think of. And I remember like the first week I had it, like I had tried to, like a big J turn at the skate park parking lot. It ended up over the top of about 15 parking blocks with it. For me, it wasn't the first car, it was the fourth car. And the fourth car was a truck. So I went from the 1969 Cutlass Supreme to a 1980 Mazda RX-7 to a 1980 something Mazda GLC. GLC stands for good little car. I beg to differ. And then while driving the Mazda GLC in Franklin, Indiana, Johnson County, we'd talked about this previously for the police car story because I met all of the Johnson County sheriffs that day. There was a white 1981 Toyota 4x4 way off in the kind of the field and with just grown up. And remember, this is circa 88, so I don't know how long it's been sitting in this field. But there was this big craze growing up, and it's kind of coming back around of these jacked up trucks, but they had big 44-inch tires or 38-inch tires, and the Toyotas of the day were the ones to have. And for me, growing up as a child of the late 70s, early 80s, we had these little cars that were called stompers. And you would take the body off, put a AA battery in it, go in it and hit it, and it would run in four-wheel drive and it'd run basically up a wall, it'd go anywhere. But they had competitor ones called Rough Riders, and they would had all these little tracks or anything else. So everybody wanted to have like this jacked up Toyota truck or this jacked up truck that looked like the little stompers. We parked the old Mazda GLC, and I think I was dating the starter wife at that point, and we ended up walking through the field, and there it was, this big white jacked up Toyota 4x4 sitting on 44s. And I'm like going, wow. And so you walk around the passenger side, and it's a little pancake down the side, but the door's still shut and all the windows are still in it, but there's clear damage down the passenger side. And I'm like, man, who owns this thing? And of course, in Johnson County, in Franklin area, everybody knows everybody who's everybody who's everybody, or everybody knows somebody from the Walmart. There's no secrets in Franklin. There's no secrets in Johnson County. Somebody knows somebody from the state fair, the demolition derby, you name it. So somehow I ended up finding out who owned this thing. They had come to tell me that the motor was blown up in it, and that's the reason why it was sitting out in the field. And I was like, well, why is it damp? Like it's pancake down the side. Like, did it lay over on its side? Like, because it's jacked up big Toyota pickup. They couldn't tell me what had happened to it other than it had been in a 3-county high-speed chase at one time. This thing is my Christine. Now, if you're not familiar with Christine, was the Plymouth Fury that was possessed and it would rebuild itself. This is out of all the cars, and I always tell everybody that the ambulance sometimes won't make its way out of the driveway, but it has a good soul. And I always preach that all vehicles have souls, whether it's a good soul or a bad soul. This one was my Christine. The fourth car ever, was the one that would try to kill me. We ended up dragging it back to my parents' home, and I'm 18 probably at this point, and I used to like to permanently borrow things from junkyards, like show up in the middle of the night when no one was there but the junkyard dog. Somehow I ended up at the 22R, and I don't think it was an RE Toyota motor. So this is a 4-cylinder Toyota that was in the truck before, and I was just going to motor swap it. So you also have to know that this truck was a manual. So you are pushing 44-inch tires on a 4-cylinder Toyota motor, first, second, third, fourth, and it would never get into fifth because it could never carry enough inertia to keep the tires rolling. So you could only get it up to fourth gear. And also, to get the motor into it, we had to take the front wheels off of it and lower everything on the ground just to get the cherry picker up over the top to get this. This thing was huge. Once it had a battery in it and once it was brought back to life, That's when all the creepy stuff started happening with this truck. You would walk out at night and like the radio would be on. An old Stomper would be sitting out there in the driveway. And I was like, man, did somebody leave the radio on? The key's not on. Like, why is this thing playing whatever? All kinds of creepy stuff started happening with Stomper. And I didn't know still why all the damage was down the side. And I didn't know why it would occasionally turn on. I didn't know all these different nuances of driving this thing with 44 inches and it would just start wandering around the road. So I would come home, and my parents lived on an acre-long driveway back then, lived in an apartment below the house. And I had free reign of the whole backyard, and I, of course, was a wild child. And one day, just a two-seater, I put it in reverse and had a girlfriend at the time in the passenger seat. And of course, one of my buddies jumps in the bed, and we're backing out, and I go, boom! And I'm like, what in the heck? Because there's never anything in my parents' driveway except the home appraiser that day who had came to appraise my parents' house, and I abruptly drove right over the front top of his Volkswagen Rabbit who was right behind us. And for some reason, my friend's mouth didn't work that day, like, hey, stop. So I crushed the guy's car, and my parents were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? This is the home appraiser. I have no idea how that ever worked out, but there was one less Volkswagen Rabbit in the world. So then, of course, being 17 and 18 years old with this off-road vehicle, if they put off-road on the side of it, I mean, that means it's time to go off-road. And this was a airbrush truck down one side and it had a little like rat fink thing of the truck, but like it said Stomper on it. Like it was hand pinstriped by Bob Cadell, who was a amazing pinstriper in Indianapolis. He's the one that painted the flag back on the General Lee and just all these different trick things, but it had all this damage on one side of the truck. And so going off road and there was a set of railroad tracks, and of course as a kid, you always clear every railroad track from your house to Ed's house if it's airborne time and on 44-inch tires, you know. So I had friends in the bed of the truck, and I'm buzzing along here, and we're going to clear the train tracks, and boom, boom, and we come down, and we end up back at my house, and we're all just messing around all day long. But little did I know that my buddy in the back of the bed of the truck had hit his head on the roll bar when we were airborne and literally knocked himself out and laid in the bed and ended up, I think, with like third-degree sunburns because he was knocked out half the day. And old Stomper tried to take him out, right? Weird stuff is happening with Stomper. For some reason in Indiana, your vacation destination is always Florida. We're talking like Eastern Airlines days back, you know, dedication. Let's go to Florida. Everybody comes to Florida. I was like, hey, me and my buddy Ronnie Quartz, that I probably haven't thought of since this day, and Mike Derby is like, hey, let's go to Florida. I'm the only one with the car. So I'm going to drive a 1981 Toyota 4x4 with 2.5 windows in it, the whole thing pancaked on 44-inch tires to Florida. So we get all the way down there, and somewhere between my house and there, we have lost my wallet. And Stomper had chewed my wallet. I don't know what happened to my wallet. Wallet is missing. Travis had all the cash. So now we're in the middle of Florida with no gas money, no nothing. And this is Western Union days. My parents had to wire money, and somehow I had to identify myself to get the loot to get home. We literally drove all the way there, turned around, and drove home. That was our Florida vacation in Stomper. As if things aren't piling up, there is a gas station at the corner of 135 and Fairview, and I'm getting gas in Old Stomper. And I'm probably, like I said, about 18 and a half years old, maybe. And this guy comes up to me at the gas station and says, hey, is this your truck? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, were you in it that day? And I go, what day? And he goes, well, it's wrecked on the side. And I'm like, well, yeah. And he goes, were you in it the day that it killed those two people in that Corvette? And I go, no, dude, like, what are you talking about? He goes, you lived in Carefree. And I go, no, I live over on Bluff Road. And he goes, the guy who owned this before you then lived in Carefree. And there was two students, and this is kind of a well-to-do side of town, driving to high school, and old Stomper lost control and drove up over the top of their Corvette and had killed the two people and had laid itself on its side. And that's where all the damage came on Stomper. And I was like, holy crap, this is why there's so much creepy stuff going on with Stomper. And like, I'm literally calling the guy I bought it from. I said, did this guy, he goes, I don't know what happened to it. I don't know how. I'm like, no one, it's like if someone dies in a house, you should reveal that someone had checked out in the house. But Stomper had apparently killed two people and been in a 3-county chase. It had turned itself on and off, tried to kill my friends, ran over a Volkswagen in my parents' driveway. So at that point, I'm like, man, it may be time for old Stomper to find a new home because Arnie and Christine, he didn't survive, but I did not want to become Arnie and Christine. So I was minding my own business at the junkyard one day, probably buying parts for Stomper, knowing my luck. And there was a guy that come in a wheelchair. And he goes, "Is that your truck out there?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, like now I hope Stomper didn't put this guy in a wheelchair." Like I'm like going, what else is next? And he goes, "Do you want to sell it?" And I'm like, "You are my guy." Like it was like angels are singing, clouds part, and I'm like, "Partner, what do you want to give me for old Stomper here?" And it was probably like $3,000 or something. He could have offered me dang near anything. It was time for Stomper to find a new home. He and his, I think maybe his father or something was there, and they literally just peeled off money. And I had for some reason the title on me, and I was like, "Here it is." And I don't think he knew that it was a stick shift and he was in a wheelchair, but he was the neatest guy because you would see old Stomper pull up occasionally and he would gas the gas with his cane and then he would like let off the clutch until it engaged and he'd pound on it. And old Stomper would be in it. He'd be slamming gears in a wheelchair and Stomper, I have no idea how he got up in the thing, but he had eventually rebodied it and I have no idea what happened to Stomper. I don't care what happened to Stomper. Old Stomper and me had a love-hate relationship. But going back to your first cars, and you kind of never get to choose them. Mine was a '69 Cutlass. I also said you usually don't get to choose what your first concert was either. My first concert was Richard Marx, and somehow I became a disc jockey. So I dodged a lot of bullets with crappy concerts and crappy cars.
I start most of my days browsing Auto Tempest for my next bad decision of a car, but did you know that supporting Auto Tempest can also help support all the great content that they support in the automotive YouTube world? I know that you've probably enjoyed a lot of videos that they supported and a lot of channels that they've been sponsoring for years, perhaps without even knowing it. So check them out now at the link in the description below. It is the most powerful way to shop for your next car because you'll see all the listings showing up in one search and you can search by any criteria that you want, but it also helps make automotive YouTube a much better place. So check them out now, autotempest.com, all the cars, one search.